Hey guys, Trump's lawyer and Trump both say there's no crime that's been made here, even though they say they have 34 counts against President Trump. So they're looking, you know, positive at this situation. Check
Couple
out this
quick
clip.
things. Do you expect the president to voluntarily surrender? Will he come for his arraignment?
We're working out those logistics right now, Savannah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, he's not going to hole up in Mar-a-Lago. So he'll face this, and we'll face it, and we'll be successful, I'm sure.
Do you expect this to go to trial? Do you see any scenario in which you or the former president would take a plea deal?
Zero. First of all, I'm not taking a plea deal to anything, but President Trump will not take a plea deal in this case. It's not going to happen. There's no crime. I don't know if it's going to make the trial because we have substantial legal challenges that we have to front before we get to that point.
Long road ahead. Joe Tacopina, thank you for your time this morning. Good to see you.
Thanks, Savannah.
Well, that sounds like they're pretty confident. Also, remember Bill Barr? Remember that? Ooh, anyway. Here's a clip with Bill Barr talking about what was going on. Check this clip out.
So what's your impression, given what you've heard so far?
Well, I wish I had something original to say about this. Almost all the adjectives have been used. I mean, obviously we have to caveat it. We haven't seen it. We don't know exactly what's there. But judging from the news reports, it's the archetypal abuse of the prosecutorial function to engage in a political hit job, and it's a disgrace if it turns out to be what we think it is. Politically, it's going to be damaging, I think, to the Republican Party simply because I think it's a no-lose situation for the Democrats. I think the impetus is really to help Trump get the nomination, focus the attention on him for 2 years, have this thing swirling around, plus whatever else comes, which I think will be damaging to whoever gets the nomination. And legally, I think it's from what I understand, it's a pathetically weak case.
Yeah, it seems to be that there's two aspects of this that are offensive. At least it seems this way to me. One is the business records part. And they've made a very strong push that they intend to litigate that to the hilt, and that he did not commit even the misdemeanor. But it seems to me that whether he did or whether he didn't, the first obligation of the prosecutor is to apply the law equally across the board to everyone.
Right.
And we're dealing with a progressive prosecutor who's made his name not prosecuting. Right. So at the very time that he's taking real felonies that are preying on New Yorkers and knocking them down to misdemeanors if he prosecutes them at all, he's taking this case that they would never in a million years prosecute, and he's making it into a misdemeanor prosecution. And then there's the second question about whether, especially with the federal authorities who have jurisdiction over campaign finance violations, having looked at this and decided not to prosecute, he's now not only going to add this to his case, but use it to inflate the misdemeanor, not into a felony. I don't think it does it justice to say inflate it into a felony. According to Trump's counsel, and again, as you say, until we see the indictment, we don't know, it's going to be 34 felonies, 4-year.
Okay. Well, that's right. Taking the federal issue first, which is the way he appears to defeat the statute of limitations on a misdemeanor and juices up a technical misdemeanor into a felony. As you say, the federal government, the Southern District of New York, did not charge this as a campaign violation. And I saw some editorialist said something like, well, that's because Bill Barr was there. Actually, the Southern District could have done whatever they wanted. Well, I mean, they would have eventually.
I always heard that about them.
Well, but I want to point out that the administration ended 2 years ago, so Bill Barr wasn't there 2 years ago. And if the statute of limitations had not run federally, they could have done whatever they wanted to do after I left. So no one's done anything.
Right.
And so for the state DA to try to use this as a way of bootstrapping himself into a felony is sort of outrageous. But as the other thing is, the statute itself isn't as technical as it sounds. That is, it's not just falsification of a record, but the statute says with the intent to defraud. So the falsification of the record has to have the intent to defraud. It's not enough to say, well, the falsification is the fraud. There still has to be some victim of fraud, someone who is, some value is somehow taken away from and benefited, the perpetrator. And I don't see an explanation for that anywhere. So I think it's a very weak case just on the misdemeanor. And on the federal issue, they've gotten the statute completely wrong in my mind. And I don't think the department would support this interpretation of the statute that they're taking, which is that paying, well, I'll call it hush money, I don't like that term, but paying hush money is a campaign contribution. I don't think the department would take that position now. I think the statute covers two different kinds of payments. Something that's a campaign contribution because it augments the campaign resources available to spend on a campaign. That's not what this is. Or the payment of a personal expense that otherwise wouldn't be paid but for the election. The only reason you pay the personal expense is because the pendency of the election. And this was, even as alleged, this was a payment of a personal expense. And I don't think they can show it's not the kind of payment that would have been made. In any case, even it wasn't done because of the election. It was done to protect Trump's reputation. And an eponymous private company certainly has an interest in protecting the brand Trump. And it's the kind of thing that probably would have been paid but for the election. So I think the whole thing is a very weak case. But it's going to hurt our politics, obviously, for the next.
Okay, guys, remember to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.